hide everything in here in Substance. And this is the example I was working on. If you hold, by the way, if you hold in Substance, I think it's Control Shift and right click. Is that the one? Or is it Control Alt and right click? Yeah. Control Alt and right click, it will select whatever part you're working on. One of these. So if I Control Alt here and right click, it'll go to this one, or I can go down to here and I'll go to that one. So you don't always have to bring this menu up. And you may wonder why I don't always have these menus up, is because I try and keep as much of the real estate available for the art. So this actually, like I've said before, is usually just on my other screen, but I leave it here for class. So I'm going to clear out what I have in here. Let's just delete, 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 delete. Okay. And I'm going to show you how to make normal bump maps and detail and stuff inside of here. For the longest time, we would do our shoelaces and our stitches and our seams inside of ZBrush because we got the perfect setup. Well, with the Substance coming along, we're able to now do really good controlled normal maps in here. And sometimes it's easier to do a straight line of some kind of decoration inside of here than it would be inside of ZBrush. Okay, so I'm going to show you. We're going to work on this piece down here really quick, and this is going to be the one requirement. I'm going to have you do 2 of these for your homework, and I haven't written it up yet, but I want to go through it and make sure you're all caught up and understood. So you're going to take your thing as you have it set up, and you don't have to worry about if you've already got the textures on it and everything. That's great. We're just going to take it and we're going to make a normal or a bump map inside of here. So when you can add, whenever I add a layer like we've done before, I'll just add a fill layer is what we're going to do. You can see that I've got color, metal, rough, normal, and height. We've talked about this before. Normally when we looked at the height and the normal, it's basically just from the bake, right? And then I've showed you how to paint your own normals and stuff into here. Well, I'm going to show you another thing that's getting the same answer, getting normals from a texture instead of just painting it by hand. Because you're going to get a lot more control if you do it from a texture. First off, one of the things you might want to do when you're working is change your view to orthographic if you're trying to do straight lines, so you don't have to try and do it at an angle and stuff. You can always switch it back. It's F5 and F6. So I'm going to come in here, and what I did is I did a search this morning, but I'll do it again just to show you. I'm going to look for HeightMaps. I can spell. Okay, so HeightMaps are usually used forever. They've been used for making geological information. This is how they take pictures from the sky, and they can use it to make geological maps and height maps and stuff like that. But there's also used in a lot of ways to make 3D images from height. Because if you think about it, in ZBrush, let me open a new one up. And I showed you a little bit of this the other day, Sarah, I think, and Rachel and stuff, who were still here when I was working on it. But if you think about it, when I'm sculpting inside of here, let me do like a, let's just do this. Okay, I gotta change it to polymer state. Okay, thank you. Oh, that's great. Let me go down and get a better version here. I don't want to freeze anything. What are you talking about? Being weird, ZBrush. Let me see something. How's that 4 million? Okay, so I don't want it to be 4 million. Let's back up. There, 63. Let's go forward one. We'll just do it there. Okay. So when I'm sculpting or whatever inside of here, and I do this kind of stuff, and actually I want one more. Everything I'm doing can be broken down into a black and white map. Just because, like, when we use masks, we're just using black and white information to tell the computer where to go. In fact, you know what? Let me do it better on a plane so you can see it better. Come on. You can do it on this, and then here, I'll divide this up a few times. Oh, wait. Make polymesh 3D. Divide, divide, divide. Got 4 million. That's crazy. That's fine. And then I can sculpt inside of here, and I can say, you know, like, I can go in here and make some, here, let me put on my X. So I can make a nose. I can make some eyes, make a mouth, smooth it. Okay. That's weird. Okay, it's still too low. There. Let's delete higher. And I can come in here. In fact, there's even some tools inside of here we could add pieces to it. So I can go D. And then smooth it out. And do like eyebrows or nostrils. Give him some teeth. Creepy dude. So I can sculpt, I can do all this kind of stuff. I can do, pull out his eyebrows, pull out his nose a little bit more, pull out his bottom lip to give him some volume there, make his eyes really sunk in, pull out his cheeks, soften it up. I can do all this stuff, make him really freaky, but it's still what it used to be called 2.5D. What we're doing, we're actually just painting with a map, as you can tell. If I look at this one, okay, if I look at this one, and just painting with this black and white mask is saying in and out. So in theory, it should be able to get this information as a map somehow, you would think. Well, you can. How do you do it? It's really simple. You just come into the alpha. Well, let me do standard real quick. You come into the alpha and you say grab dock. When you grab the dock, all of a sudden I've got this, which is a depth mask. This is called a height map. This height map looks like these are black, but they actually aren't. They're just lighter gray, so it means they're really recessed or really in put out. So I've done a few of these at home with some of the other models. I can pull this out more. Let's get that nose going. How about this? There's another tool inside of here. You guys are gonna be like, what? I can go to brush, and I can go to this right here. And then I can just say ears. And then I could say creepy eye. And then let's do a better nose. The mirror's making it weird. Well, it's being weird anyway, but. Yeah, so you get the idea. I've got this creepy thing. What happens if I do this? If I go this and say grab dock, now, if you look at this picture, it's now giving me all the height information. And it's not like you can paint this because it's so subtle and that stuff. So, getting that kind of information, it allows me to get that same thing and use it inside of something like Substance. And I've done a couple of them, but you can also do a bunch of other things too. But if we come in here and I'll open up my textures here. Textures. 10 HeightMaps. And we'll look at Goblin Test. And I'll just drag this texture into here. And of course I get the throw a new texture in here. What is this? Now you would tempted, because it's a black and white map, to say it's an alpha, but really what you want to do is say it's a texture. So I'll say texture, and then I'm going to come down here and say current session, and say import. And somewhere in here, the easiest way to go is to textures, and there it is. And I have this. So right now I've only got height information on. I'm going to turn this way up, and then how did we do it when we added height to our I guess the ruins you guys put in your sword? What did we do? Add a mask. Yep. Add a black mask, so everything's turned off. And then what I'm going to do inside of here is just add a paint filter. And then I'm going to do it on here. And then I'm going to say if I paint right now, hold on. Somehow, oh, that's right, because I did it again. Fill, let me delete this one. Mask, black mask. Come back to my fill, turn everything but the height off, turn that height up as high as it goes. Come back to my mask, add a paint, and then inside of here when I paint, it makes it pop out, right? Or if I do the other direction in the paint, or the other direction in the this, it would make it go inward. Okay, so that's cool. We've seen that before, but if I come in here inside of this grayscale, since I'm at the paint layer, and I click on that, and I go find that picture, I think it was Goblin, boom, and I drag, oh, I'm doing it wrong. Oh, duh. I'm thinking ZBrush. My brain's ZBrushed out. And I scale it up, and then click. I've now got a 3D version of that goblin from this extrude. All I did is do a baked, I put a plane behind him and baked this version out. So he's like that. Now he doesn't look that detailed at this point because it's still just trying to be on a flat surface. Remember, this is all fake. There's not really anything there. I'm not changing the surface of this. If I turn this off, it's still a flat plane, but I put this back on and I've got that. Well, if I dupe it and I dupe it again, I start to get even more detail back out. So, I mean, great. If you're going to put a goblin in here, that's perfect. But what about anything else? And that's, again, all flat, but it looks like a lot more detail. And it really gets, I did this a really high res, and I'll show people for the advanced stuff how to get where you need to do it. But I mean, it got really, really detailed in there. It's actually got the stitching and everything because I rendered it 4096. So it's a big, big map with a lot of detail in it. But that's great, but I'm not going to really put your goblin on my thing. Well, that's why you failed the class, but no, I'm just kidding. But what would you use this for, Mel? And why would we do this? Well, sometimes, like I said, it's easier than trying to sculpt everything out to make, especially if it's a pattern thing, to make a pattern and bake a map out for it. And that way you can use it as a repeated texture. Now, in theory, you could do the same thing that you use this map for, I'm going to show you, in ZBrush and bake and use it as a brush, an alpha brush, and it would pull out the forms. But if you don't need it that way, and if it's just for a normal overlay and you don't need all that detail, what you can do is I'll say HeightMaps, and I think I looked up ornamental high caps. Gosh dang it. And you'll see you can get a bunch of them from ZBrush. This is not actually a height map. This is actually, if it is, it's a weird height map. Really what you want is something that looks completely black and white, like, not like that one, but like this one. That one's there. And when I was looking through these, I think this is the one. Is it this one? I think I went to view more when I found the right kind of things. And look, you can find all of these pre-made ones for you. You can make your own. Now, that's what I'm going to talk about in ZBrush. You could actually sculpt out all these things and make your own map. But why would I do that? Well, if I make that one thing and then I say, come in here, let me grab this one and throw it in. This is one I paid for, but not for this reason, but I said, oh, I can, it's actually for the ZBrush, but I'll show you how it would work if I used it in here. Current session, import. Okay, so this now I put on top of the other one. Instead of using that, now I use this. And this is just a defined little pattern that it's set up. There's a couple things you want to do. If I stamp this now, it's a nice pattern. If I shrink it, you know, think about this as your outside edge, you know, nice little trim pieces. And that's what you're going to use it for. But as you can tell, this is all, first off, it's faded. Y'all get what I'm talking about so far, though? Yeah, I'm just talking about using a black and white map that you can get from either online for free or ZBrush if you want to make your own, or anything that's using an alpha mask for everything. But the problem with this mask that we're looking at here, it is in ZBrush. And ZBrush needs things vertical when you build them. You can rotate them and stuff easily. But in here, we want to rotate it. Now, there's a few tools you can use to rotate it in the viewport, and I can't remember exactly which one. I think it's Control and drag and right and left will shrink it. Control and dragging it up and down does nothing. Oh, it takes the fade off a little bit. And then Control and right mouse button, is it? Yeah, it turns it for me. This also makes it up and down, turns it, and right and left makes it less or more opaque, which we've talked about before. But that's all that's doing is this stuff over here. So if I know I wanted it at 90 degrees or I need to rotate it 90 degrees, I just rotate it 90 degrees and it's perfect. I don't have to fight with it. And then the size of it, I just use my brackets still because thank goodness everybody uses the same setup for that still. So I'm going to put it down here on this bottom piece down here. And I would just take this brush. Actually, let me do it this way. Not that way. Okay. Let me see which one I'm on. Sometimes it's hard to tell platform. Okay, so I'm going to just do it down here. So that means I've got to do, get rid of this layer, do another fill layer, turn off everything but the metal, rough, normal, and just leave the height on. I'm going to put the height up as high as it goes. Then I'm going to put a mask on it. And the reason you use a mask instead of just painting into the height layer is because you have so much more control over it. If you try and do it painting in the height layer, you're kind of like asking for your brush to be funny or to draw pixelizations weird and stuff. I'm also going to turn this to orthographic so I have a straight view of this. And then snap it so it's straight up and down. Okay. Then I'm going to come to this, and I'm going to just see if I turn this on and do a paint, and then make sure my paint's set to this, and I click, and then if you hold that click and drag, it's going to do this. So that's definitely not what we want. If you click down and then push Shift inside of Painter, it'll do not what I wanted it to do. So it's still not doing what I want. But here's the deal. What it's doing is it's spacing. Right now it's at 20, and really you just want it to be 100. Because 100 is 100%, I figured out today. So if I do this and I drag, it should be almost 100% perfect. Now, the biggest problem is that it's not quite 100%, and I'm still doing this weird line. So what I'm going to do is click, and then hold Shift and drag, and I'm not holding it. I clicked once, and now I'm just holding Shift. And then if I hold Shift and Control, it snaps it. So I'm going to go all the way to here, and then click again, and it fills up my whole thing. So 100 still looks like it's a little off, so I'll try 90. Because it's probably because of the fade. If I want to get rid of the fade altogether, you can just turn your alpha off. Let's see if that works any better. So if I click here, and then Shift, and click past it because I wanted to go all the way across. Yeah, that was what it was the alpha. It probably should be at 100. And I get this nice, oh, look at that. I changed this one, not the other one. I click here and hold Shift and drag and then Control so it's a straight up and down. And I go to there, and now I've got this great beveled edge stuff going on. Now you may get some stuff over here, and that's because you really want it. You may have to do this a few times. I was trying to figure out if there's a really easy way to make sure it's perfectly lines up, because you can see it ends like right here, and it's still got a half a going. So what does it do? It puts the other half over here. So you just kind of got to guess it, I guess. And if I go here, I'll show what happens if I go the other way. If I click here and Shift and drag just to the end, it stops right before the end. So, you know, there's just no making it happy. And I can click again, but I'm going to have that same problem. So, and you know what? Actually, let's just do that. So the best way to do it is to do this. Let me drag it. Okay, fingers. Thank you. Which program am I in today? Okay, click. Shift past it. I didn't hold the control. Yeah. Click where I want to start it at that edge. Shift and control to make sure it's straight. So it's straight line. And then, yeah, it does go past it, but all we have to do is go get our regular paintbrush out. So get rid of this. Change our alpha to that. Oh, I guess it's not that. It's this one to black and just paint it out. So you can just paint it out after. Yeah?
The erase tool can work for that as well.
What's that? Yeah, the erase tool could. Sure. You could try the erase tool and erase it out too. I'm just not used to it. Didn't have the erase tool when I started, so very good call, Morgan. I'm used to not using that because I'm just thinking about the alpha. But there you go. Look at that. It's beautiful. You've got really good, nice information, nice ornamentation on the bottom of your sarcophagus. Super easy. So the homework is going to be to do one layer of sarcophagus like this, and then find your theme and fill your arches with stuff. You're going to have 6 different parts. I mean, it's one homework assignment. It's just fill in your arches and then one theme on the bottom. I can't give you that one, but I did find a couple other ones, so I'll show you the one that I did find here. When I searched, I found that one. This one here, call it a texture, and we'll go to current session and say import. And then, yeah.
Is this on the damaged one or the undamaged one?
On the damaged one. So you're going to bake your high res into here, and you're going to put all the damage on it. Then you're going to put these textures over the top of it. And in theory, the damage should be cutting these textures up as it goes across the actual object.
I don't think I get it.
Do you think when they sculpted it, when they made a sarcophagus, they just made a plain old sarcophagus, or do you think they actually ornamented and all that stuff on it?
They actually ornamented it.
So you can't really put this ornamentation on before you cut it up, because that would be a nightmare to try and do in ZBrush, at least for the level you're at. So instead of doing that, we're going to put the ornamentation on after it's already damaged. And it's not going to change the damage. It's just going to add to the damage and hopefully look correct like it's got damaged on with the other parts of the thing. Now, don't forget that you may want to cut some of the stuff out. You can alpha out some pieces that are, maybe if it's cutting into a crack, you can alpha that part out and stuff. But it's pretty straightforward. You're just going to add these pieces to it. And that's one of the reasons I said don't put anything inside of your archway thing, so you could do your own custom stuff. And I did say beginning that we were going to put ornamentation on the bottom, but pretty much you're going to find the right ornamentation, set up your brush and drag it over here, find a couple of pictures and stamp your pictures of whatever you want. So if you were going to do Pokemon, if you're going to do the moon, I think you were saying the moon, find 3 cycles of the moon and put them as stamps on here, as detailed as you can get them or as you want them to be or whatever. You could theoretically go draw a black and white picture. It's not going to look as good because it doesn't have that subtle detail that you get from just having these baked ones. But here's one that I found. If I throw it into the inset arches, and then I threw another, I'll just take this one off. Let's kill this. First we'll kill my goblin, and then we'll take this one, and we will delete the paint, and then we'll make it fill, empty, and then I'll say paint. And I'll take this one and put it into the paint layer, in theory. You're a jerk. Sometimes when you do stuff to masks, I found, it freaks it out, so you have to re-add a mask back in. So remove mask, add the mask back in, then put on your paint filter. Then in theory, I should be able to, why are you not? Weird. I have to look at my eyes here. Maybe I said alpha when I did it for some reason. Okay, let's try pressed. Huh. Okay. I don't think it likes this JPEG font type, so let me change it to a different JPEG type. It's like I said, I haven't tested this one. Oh, here's a good one though. I did find this one on the internet too, so I'll drag this in here. Say import undefined texture, and then current session import, and I'll drag this one onto there. Thanks, Photoshop. What are you doing? I just did this like 2 seconds ago. I'm doing something wrong. This is up high, filter, paint, grayscale, wreath. There it is. That one. It said no. That is weird. I know this one works, so I tried it at home. It's not letting me do it to any of them. Alright, let's go back to the other one. Let's go to the base platform. Let's see if it'll let me do it in this paint. Okay, so my substance is freaking out. That's all I can think of. Because it used to work and now it's not. Or when I watch this again later, I'll be like, oh yeah, that's what I did wrong. But let me see if Goblin works. See, Goblin doesn't work either, so it's something's going on with substance. But the textures that I was going to show you, I'll just pull them up. There's this one, which is pretty cool. It's got little flowers and stuff. You could do a wreath thing if you wanted to try to do that on the bottom. I might cut it up to make sure it looks like it fits on that small area. And then the other one is this one, which works pretty cool too. And this one came with a normal, but don't use that one. When you bake it out, you could just use a normal, by the way. You could just stamp a normal across here, but this is so much better. Most of us don't use normals. We use these high things. Sometimes when you get really detailed things like these vents and this vent, sometimes it's better to use normals, but in this case, we're not going to do that. So I will write up the homework, but any questions on what you're doing? Is to fill in the details with a height map on the bottom, and then fill in the details of your 6 different archways with a height map again. You're using height maps on all of them. And it should add to your detailed dirty one that you worked on. Yes?
So whenever you put the damage onto the sarcophagus.
Before you even start doing this, you should probably have it on there. I'll do it right now. I'll just add mine in right now.
I wanted to see what it would look like.
Mine's crap though, but sure. You saw me do it last week or Monday. See?
Feels like last week.
I think it's on the other side, of course. Yeah, whatever I did a really crappy one. But I think I've also changed the UVs on this, so it's different. But you can see there, just that little bit, it breaks into this right here. And it can push it in, and if you want, what you could do, if you see like there's a crack and you want to take it out, though I don't know. God, my painter is just freaking out. Let me go to my base platform. I could come to this paint. What are you doing? I can't do anything because it's not even showing me the black and white controls. But I could erase here. There, try that. Yeah, it's not letting me. Let me go to the paint though. There. I could erase out that part. So if it doesn't look right, like it's sitting on top of it like that, just come in and erase it where you want it to crack out. Thin out your brush, erase it a little bit more here and stuff. See how that now looks like it's built that way? Like it meant to be that way. So.
Yeah, it's exactly what I needed. Thanks.
Yep. This is, I don't know what one that is. It's not what it looked like before. Okay, I gotta open this again because it's driving me bonkers. But yeah, those, I'll post all of these ones I found for free. There's this one too. I have no idea how it looks. I didn't test it. It doesn't look like it's gonna look too great to me, but I can't really test it right this second. But I'll post all those. I can't post the ones I paid for because it's not fair to the guy. Oh, I did do this one. Oh gosh, I should have shown you this one. Dang it. Hold on.
No, too late.
There's never too late. It's, you're not leaving, so you guys always leave early, and I'm cool with it, but most of y'all, not all y'all.
Well, I have no choice but to stick it out today. My dad's at discount electronics.
Well, we're all leaving. I'm closing the door.
What?
I'm just kidding. My kids are.
For that.
Here, I'll put it on a preview sphere. Oh, no. I'll put it on tiling material. That's much easier. Okay. So I'll put a fill layer on here. I'll put it only as height. I'll put a mask on here. I will put a paint layer on the mask. And then I will drag Naruto into here. Naruto. And we'll call him a texture. And we'll call him a current session import. And there he is. I'll throw that on there. Now when I draw Naruto, he has a bigger version of him. Whee! Okay, now you work for great. Thank you. Thank you for doing this for me. You're awesome. Let's go that. Wow. It's a really big plane. I don't know what. Oh, I know what it is. I did normal, not height, and I didn't raise it. Whoop. And it's tiling, so that's not the best one. Interesting. We'll go back to new, select, sarcophagus, Z, open, discard. Okay. Fill layer, base color, or I'm sorry, fill layer, black mask, paint, delete this one, drag in N-A-R, U, there he is. And this one I didn't make very high res, so it doesn't look as good as the Goblin. Oh, also, come to think of it, oh, it's 2048. There we go, that's pretty better. And hopefully I'm printing this next week, or finishing the print of this next week. Naruto! It's only been a Christmas present since 2017. Okay. That's it. I'll write it up and let you guys keep plugging away.
So 6 different windows.
I'll give you a few you can use that you can just do by default if you want. They don't have to be necessarily. It's one texture. You're just gonna put stamps in different windows, different height maps. And like I said, if you search height maps, I found all of these.
Just search HeightMaps.
I did height maps and then I did ornamental, or you could try ZBrush. And let's see if there's anything cool in here. That one's weird. You could try, we could try Painter, Substance Painter. Maybe.
Are we also doing the circular?
Yeah, I mean the circular one would be great if you did it. I didn't actually make it a homework because I want you. That's like, the base is going to be the hardest because you got to get it straight and stuff, and then the other ones I just want you to have fun with. Absolutely do the outside ones too. You might as well. But what you put in any of those is up to you. Let's try HeightMaps. If you search for HeightMaps, you're going to get a lot of this stuff, and then that's where I go to like this. And then when I went to that, you can look at this. Yeah. So if you go to View More, you can find a bunch of these. I have this one. This one's weird looking. This one, there's these, there's that. You could try Moon, but I think you're going to get a weird picture. There's Pug Heightmap. And then once you start going down these rabbit holes, you'll find other people's height maps too. There's a rooster. Oh, there's a Freed, it looks like. Okay. Let me write it up, and then I will show you. Well, I kind of showed you how to make them, but if you sculpted anything inside of 3D or inside of ZBrush, you could make your own height map too. But that depends on how much time you want to put into it. For our project, you just have to find pictures that are pre-made height maps.